This past weekend, Siege's North American mini-major came to a close. Now, not only did the long-suffering DarkZero finally earn themselves some much-deserved silverware, but following months of doom and gloom around the need to save Siege, Ubisoft unveiled one of the most era-defining updates their game has ever seen. Not since the Invitational has the future of Siege looked this bright. From match replays to an overhaul of the sound engine to a Splinter Cell crossover, Ubi is introducing features that fans have spent months, if not years, clamoring for. Now, there's a lot of changes to get through, some of which are pretty radical, but suffice it to say, Siege will never be the same. Alright guys, so we've been streaming over at twitch.tv/theScore esports for a little while now, and one of the things that we've been streaming is our talk show, Clouded, where the Don't At Me team breaks down the biggest stories in esports and streaming and talks mad shit while doing it. So make sure you go and follow the channel so that you catch Clouded every week when it goes live Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, back to Rainbow Six. Let's kick things off with the esports stuff. So despite barely making it into the tournament, DarkZero came out of nowhere and cobbled together an absolutely staggering run. After toppling the defending world champion Space Station Gaming in the quarterfinals, they proceeded to topple Team Bolo Mid in both the semis and grand finals. Team Solo Mid. What did I say? Anyway, it was lovely to behold, because despite being this grassroots, locally sourced startup who'd been on the up and up for like 2 years, DarkZero had never actually won anything. And then, in the one tournament in which they weren't actually expected to do anything, they went ham.
Good trigger discipline. He'll need to drop, and he does so. He sees the blitz, drawing all of the fire away. Diffuser goes down successfully. The odds of him winning getting even harder. He's flashed, and DarkZero turns the lights out on TSM as DZ are your North American major champions.
But the even bigger news came in between the second and third map of the grand finals, where, much to the team's dismay, Ubisoft decided to shove in the reveal panel for Siege's newest operation, Shadow Legacy. Hailed as being one of the most significant quality of life updates the game has ever seen, Shadow Legacy is, quite frankly, the breath of fresh air that Siege not only needed, but deserved. The headliner, of course, was the game's newest operator. The difference is that for the first time ever, Ubisoft decided to round out Siege's roster with a brooding badass from an already existing franchise. Now, his call sign is Zero, but if you're a fan of Splinter Cell, he's Sam Fisher.
You should know better than to write me off.
Next, they drew the curtains back on something that the Siege community has been waiting for since Thermite was knee-high to an exothermic charge. A chalet rework.
Things we wanted to improve was the objective, making it a bit more fair on attack, and on defense, making it a bit more interesting. The way you attack the map now is completely different than before.
Long has Chalet held the distinction of being arguably the most dog-shit map in ranked. It wasn't so much that it was actually the worst, as it was that it somehow made it through years of scathing criticism unscathed. From tower and favela to skyscraper, fortress, and both iterations of Hereford base, nearly every one of the truly awful maps in the ranked pool has at some point been crushed by the community's incessant and altogether warranted whining. But not Chalet. At least, until now. Honestly, it makes me kind of emotional to see Chalet finally get clapped. It feels like the end of an era. What are we gonna complain about now? Oh, right. Outback.
Putty oath, mate.
That said, Ubi did finally bring map bans into ranked. Now, I may not be able to decide exactly what I want to play, which, to be clear, is crucial to preserving the competitive integrity of ranked, but at least I can have some say in the matter, since for a while there, it felt as if queuing into ranked was just online gambling.
We would like to give the agency to the players to influence what maps they are playing or what maps they don't want to play. This will reduce the frustration of the player who doesn't want to play this certain map, and also can even lead to sometimes toxic behaviors of rage quitting.
Next is not only one of the most exciting changes, but perhaps the most unexpected. A literal overhaul of the weapon sight system.
First of all, we're introducing 2 new sights, a new red dot and a new holographic sight. We are also bringing in 2 new scopes.
Now, if you're a non-ACOG user like me, who slaps the holographic on everything simply because you hate it marginally less than the red dot and the reflex, you're gonna be one happy camper. Not only have they added 4 new sights, but they've made them super customizable. Like, seriously, I'm still trying to figure out how to convert my sensitivity.
With those new sights and scopes, we're also bringing in more customization for the players. You will be able to customize the sensitivity of each of those zoom levels. We are introducing the accessibility tab in the option menus. So this will be the last tab that you see. When you open this, you will have plenty of choice for colors of your reticles.
Now, for a ton of people, this is a massive deal. Not only have Ubisoft made weapon sights more personalized, but they've added a whole bunch of accessibility options, colorblind mode probably being the most significant. There's still a ton of balancing to be done around this, of course, but that's the great thing about virtually all of the changes that Ubisoft is implementing. They're taking loads of feedback. So seriously, get on the test server, see what you like and don't like, and make yourself heard. Next, we've got pooled reinforcements. This one is pretty straightforward. Each defender now has access to all 10 reinforcements, meaning that when your spawn peeking Jaeger, who refused to put down any utility, runs off and dies 3 seconds into the round, he isn't taking 2 of those ever so crucial hard walls with him. Alright, the next change is probably my favorite. Papa Ubi is bestowing upon 8 often underutilized attackers a hard-breaching secondary gadget.
So in the past few years, we saw that the attacker's composition is quite rigid, and bringing a hard breacher is a must, and we would like to ease it a little bit. And with the secondary gadget, the attackers don't need to bring a dedicated hard breacher, and maybe it can lead to some more exotic picks.
Now, while you're still going to need to bring an actual hard breacher, it's going to be less important if they get spawn peeked in the opening seconds of the round. Honestly, this one might be the most game-changing, but I for one think it's great, and I'm really excited to see how it pans out.
But the way that they're adding the drop-down reinforcements on the ceiling and then introducing more hard breach that they can change, by the way, you know, like if they want to give that gadget to someone else, they can do that, they can take it away. I think that that's going to make hard breach more dynamic, more interesting in the future, and less rigid.
Yes, the contextual pain.
Right now we have only zero pin, but with new pin system, you just have to pin the gadget, and there was an icon tells you which gadget is there. So when you pin enemy gadget, you will be able to also reveal operator's identity on top of the screen.
Of all the changes, this is the only one that the community has actually gotten up in arms about, which, again, is totally okay, because Ubisoft is being very receptive to criticism. But as of right now, it definitely looks a little overpowered. Next, we've got one of the most slept on changes, but one that us CSGO stans have been clamoring for what feels like an eternity. Fixing Siege's godforsaken sound engine. Imagine every map in the whole of Counter-Strike being as nonsensically echoey as Nuke. That's what it's like to play Siege. Oh, you heard footsteps above you? Then your enemy is almost certainly 8 inches to your right. Needless to say, the technical aspects as to why it was so bad are way above my head, and I have no idea what they did to fix it. The good news is that, by all accounts, they did.
Located the diffuser, destroy it.
No, did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, I heard you for a
I'll get you
I heard the Nuke, I heard the Sophia, I heard everything.
Yeah.
The sound is so good.
Ubi also finally got around to dishing out the long-expected nerf to the single greatest operator ever to round out the Rainbow roster. Thatchikins.
GPS satellites, unmanned drones, fucking laser sights.
After years of watching as Thatcher dominated literally every level of play, Ubi finally brought the undisputed GOAT down a peg. Instead of destroying the vast majority of round-defining gadgets, his EMPs will simply disable them, making the operator a shitload less oppressive.
As of now, in the game, Thatcher's EMP grenade can have multiple effects on the defender's gadget. Some of them are destroyed right away, and some of them are disabled for a certain amount of time, and then they come back to life. We would like to unify this, and from Season 3, all the defender in-world gadgets will be disabled instead of destroyed.
Last but not least, we've got match replays. Now, this might not sound all that enticing to you silvers out there, but this might actually be the single most important addition when it comes to preserving the health of the esports scene.
You will start from the perspective of the spectator. So you will be able to see the map and the players from the top view. But I think even more interesting it will be that you will have access to each player view. Regardless if it was your teammate or if it was your enemy, you will be able to see all the points of view, which is pretty exciting.
Imagine being a coach, analyst, or competitor and not having access to a GoTV equivalent. For literally every single person who's made it their mission to play Siege at even a remotely high level, this is life-changing. There's other stuff too. Removal of vote to kick, a redesign of the actual bomb, and changes both to MMR rollback and the minimum gain loss. But suffice to say, Shadow Legacy is one of the biggest patches Siege has ever seen. And while all of the kinks, bugs, and balancing acts have yet to be ironed out completely, the overwhelming consensus is that it is awesome, and that it will reinvent Siege like never before.
This update to Siege looks like it's going to completely change most things. And we're definitely in the middle of an era shift.
The crazy thing is that Ubisoft put all of this together, the mini majors and like the most uprooting update their game has ever seen amidst a global pandemic. Now, there are a lot of silver threes on Twitter who, in addition to boasting 18 followers and a weeby-ass profile pic, live to spout on about how Ubisoft don't care about their game. The thing is, after this patch, even those idiots can't deny what a load of garbage that is. Personally, I think that Shadow Legacy is the best thing to happen to Siege in a long time. Maybe ever. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit burned out after Shifting Tides, and found myself playing even more CSGO than usual. But if there's anything that's gonna get me back into Siege, it's this. In fact, I don't think I've ever been as excited to play Rainbow Six Siege as I am right now.
Given what we're working on and what's going to happen during the next year, this one might be more difficult to sleep with before the reveal, because these are much bigger changes coming to the game. We want to make sure that in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, when people look at Siege, they don't see just something that was super successful a few years back but has kind of grown dusty. We just want to keep on evolving.
For context, Dimitri was a Valorant gamer for the first 2 seasons, or 2.
Not even. I played like really seriously in the closed beta, and then that was kind of it, honestly. I will say, the only good thing about playing Valorant is it sends you back into the arms of Counter-Strike, man, and oh baby, you're like, this is how it was supposed to feel, man. Oh, you forget, you take that shit for granted. You take actual movement for granted. Yeah, opping in Valorant sucks, dude. I think the game would be better without the op. That's my like hot take, is that if they actually took the op out of Valorant and it was just rifles only, the game would be so much better.
What's in the canister?
What's in the canister? Fucking laser sights. All right.
Colten forever!